Thank you so much for taking the time to explain a little bit about the concept behind developing a board for One Design Class Juniors and walking us through the details. So, Remi, maybe you could jump in here first and give us a little bit of information about how you came up with the concept of a youth and junior board class for Wingfoil racing.
Okay, so the original brief that I get originally from Clément Colmar, he was complaining that his board was too sticky and not getting planing enough quick.
Okay.
So, and he want to have a board with taking off with the small wing as possible. So, with this information, I came up with a board with already previously developed for X-15 Wingfoil for the slalom PWA. And from that information, I decided to make a board with relatively more long and narrow to favorize the glide and to have a maximum speed on the water before takeoff. The stuff which is important here is that you want to race as fast as possible. So to race as fast as possible, you need a board to glide a lot to take off with a small wing as possible. So you have all your chance to be fast on the water. If you have a board with the opposite, where you have a board with wide and narrow and shorter, you need a bigger foil to take off, and then you don't have speed.
And then you don't have speed.
So this is was the idea behind. So of course, all the work was done on the bottom of the board.
These rays, they seem to be really sharp all the way through. Sharp rays. Can you share with us why they are so sharp?
Two reasons. There is one reason is planing. You need always a sharp rail to accelerate. We know that round rail doesn't help to get fast planing. And second is when you come out of the foil and you touch down and you are a bit on the rail, tilt the board a little bit, you touch with the rail and you get on the foil immediately without losing time. Because if you have round rail, it will be sticky. You feel that the board is break on the water. So this avoids this problem. And there is another feature with a big V. If you touch down flat, then the big V gets in action and bring you back on the foil immediately.
How did you feel about the V when you are touching down at high speed, Fiona?
The thing is that you can feel that response that you're talking about. Like you can touch the water, but you don't get stuck on the water.
Exactly.
You touch and then you release and you can come up, which, I mean, for racing, you know, you're racing, you're going fast, you're quite powered up. If you have a quick touch, you need to make sure that you're going to be able to come back up so you don't result in a big catapult and your race is over. So I have felt that in all the boards that, you know, all the X-15 boards that I have been training on and practicing and we've been testing on. And it's a big game changer from anything that we've seen in the past.
So if you now turn the board halfway and have a little look. Maybe we can see it from this angulation here. There's a certain structure throughout. And one thing for me very important is that, as I see in winging or in skateboarding or in dancing, it's important to be close to the ground. So we've been trying to make the board as thin as possible in the standing area, so that when you're starting to get high speed, you got more connection to the foil. And that gives you really a lot of control. But the other part, which maybe Fiona has felt, you can put it down here, is that we're standing really far forward because the foil box is far forward, which means that the nose actually is very small. So despite being a long board, it's only a little bit of area and length in front of you. So you say it's safe to have a big board. For us, it's really fast to have a long board.
Exactly, because it can come into what Remi is speaking about with the early planing, so then you can take off and getting more speed while using a smaller front wing. And then the other element of that too, like having a longer board with a bit more volume, is safety. You know, when we're out racing and say the wind drops, we need to be able, that we're standing on a board that isn't going to sink underneath us. So that's been a really big factor, thinking about, you know, designing a class and thinking about, you know, what are going to be the important features for kids when they're out in the water. But like you said, by putting the foot stops further forward, you don't feel like you have a whole lot of swing weight out in front.
And aerodynamically, the board with a long board narrow is more aerodynamic than a board with short and wider. You never see a plane, for example, with a very short and very wide. This doesn't exist. So this is simple. And also Scud is always long and narrow. So it's the same stuff. So on this tail also is more aerodynamic. You have a chunky tail with completely cut than nothing else.
So Remi, we have seen in your Olympic IQ 95, you have these cutaways.
Yes.
And you have cutaways in this board too.
Yeah.
Why do we have these cutaways?
But the water drop shapes that start to implement in the IQ Foil 95 and 85 is exactly the stuff which gives you the ability to take off as fast as possible. You get very quick speed, and this speed generates enough power on the foil to take off. So if you have a board with totally wide, the tuck line with the same as the outline in the tail, then to get planing and accelerating is not there. You need a lot of more power from your leg, from your arm and everything, and it's very hard to get planing. But this concept helps you a lot. And this basically is coming somehow from my experience in raceboard. You want to plane as fast as possible, gliding as fast as possible, and a raceboard is a perfect example. So you can glide very fast because you have the help of the length. And the length is the key here. And now is another security advantage because if suddenly there is no wind at all, the rider will be able to come back to the beach. While with a very short board on wide, they will probably need a boat to come back.
Good. So then this technology is called Lite Tech. Why do we call it Lite Tech, Remi?
Lite Tech, it means that it's very strong. It's a stuff board and it's for youth. So we make this board very strong and at the same time light. So it's very interesting, a good construction for maximum durability. All the racers in the pro class nowadays move more and more for a foil box. That means a deep total box with a very reinforced, we call it foil box. And this gives you a perfect connection between the board and the foil. There is nothing more stronger than that. So on top of that is lighter by 500 grams than the 2 US box. So this is a massive improvement, I will say.
Sven, we have a very unique name for this class, X-15. Can you tell us a little bit about where this name came from and the history behind it? It's pretty special. It's
special. So back in 1959, there was an engineering team headed by Jim Drake that actually developed the X-15 rocket plane. In 1967, the same year as Jim invented windsurfing, this plane set the world speed record for manned flight, 1967. Now we are in 2024, is still the quickest plane on Earth. So this is a heritage board. It's talking about, how can you make something exceptional that stays through the course. This board will be popular also 5-10 years from now, just like the X-15 is still the quickest manned plane ever made. So there's a lot to be said about this. And also the fact is that Jim Drake also invented winging. Together with his friend Uri Stancio, they patented winging in the year 1981. So when we work together, we are always a little bit ahead of the game. So thank you, Jim Drake.